Well, did you all know that judo is the second most popular sport in the world? Can anyone guess number one? Yes, soccer. Many people wonder, how did you get interested in a sport like judo? After all, it's not very popular in the United States, and most people don't even realize that it's an Olympic sport. Well, I'm from West Bend, a small town in Wisconsin, and when I was 4 years old, my neighbor had a black belt in karate. And he used to break bricks and boards with his bare hands, and he had a black belt. I thought, oh, one day I want to do that. And he said, Lynn, if you'd like to do that, you have to build a callus on the edge of your hand by continuously striking a brick or a board. Imagine my mother's surprise seeing her 4-year-old daughter obsessed with hitting the outside of the brick house and every tree in the yard. Besides, I had a big brother who picked on me endlessly, and the thought of breaking his bones with my bare hands gave me great satisfaction. Well, when I was 6, my mother heard that the recreation department was having judo classes, so she signed me up. I went to judo classes and found out it wasn't breaking bricks and boards with my bare hands, but throwing people through the air. That was fun. Well, my first class had 51 students, 50 boys, and me. You know, I loved battling the boys. And at 6 years old, there's not a lot of physical strength differences between boys and girls, and especially when you're a child on a mission. And I loved throwing those boys down on the ground. And I think I found out I really loved being on a mission. Well, that satisfaction was short-lived when the boys would come back to class after a tournament and wave their trophies and medals in my face. You see, in 1967, there were no tournaments for girls. Men's judo had been an Olympic sport since 1964, but the Asian and American cultures were not accepting of a girl fighting in a combat sport. But somehow I knew one day women's judo would become an Olympic sport, and I wanted to be there. Well, then in the early 70s, Europe began hosting tournaments for girls and women, and it started to gain Western credibility. And I got to fight in my first judo tournament in 1971 at 10 years old. Now, as you can imagine, I was unstoppable, and I was very good. And I was lucky to have 2 parents that would come along and support me. Of course, there was one who was in the back going, oh no, not my little girl. Why doesn't she play golf? Why doesn't she play tennis? And then there was my mother. Grew up on a farm, wielding a cowbell, going, come on, Liddy, you can do it. Throw her to the ground. I know you can. I'm like, yes, I know I can. And I get up on that mat, and I was truly unstoppable. Well, then in 1973, they had the first Senior Women's National Judo Championships. I was 12 years old and a green belt at the time. And a green belt is kind of an intermediate rank. But you do realize I was gifted from the start. My first match was against a black belt from Milwaukee, and she had just returned from England where she had won the prestigious British Open Championship. I was not intimidated by someone like her. After all, I would be the youngest and lowest ranked national champion in history. So I bowed and I stepped onto the mat and I waited for the referee's command, Hajime, and that means begin in Japanese. I took my grip, and in 3 seconds, boom! I'm laying flat on my back, looking up at the ceiling going, why didn't I play golf? Why didn't I play tennis? I hate this sport. I hate judo. I quit. And I ran off the mat, and my little cowbell-wielding mother says, Lynn, you did so good. I'm like, what? She goes, you know, sometimes you have to lose to win. I looked at her and I went, what? I'm 12, Mother. You're crazy. And my coach runs over to me and says, Lynn, do you know you were this close to beating her? I'm like, what? You're as crazy as she is. He goes, no, if we practice circling to the right, next time you're going to get her. I went, oh, yes. And my dad went, oh, no. I went back to the dojo and I practiced circling right for 6 months. And I got really good at it. And I saw her again and I took my bow and I stepped forward. Hajime, I circled to the right. 30 seconds goes by. Boom! Ugh, she got me again. I get up off the mat and there she is. Lenny, that was so good. You know, sometimes you have to lose to win. Coach runs over, Lynn, you're this close to beating her. He said, if we work on circling to the left, next time you got her. I went back to the dojo and I practiced circling left for 6 months. And I got really good at it. Wait, left, okay, this way. And there she was again. I was ready this time. I bowed, I stepped forward. Hajime! I circled to the left, 30 seconds. I circled to the right, another 30 seconds. 30 more, boom! Oh, no! I came off the mat, and there she was. Linny, don't say it. I know, Mom. Coach is like, Lynn, Oh, I went back to the dojo, and that's now 3 years later. I'm a brown belt. 15, 1 rank below black. Understand, I was so lucky that she was from Milwaukee because I got to fight her all the time. And there she was again. And I took my bow and I took my step forward, Hajime, and I took my grip. 30 seconds goes by, another 30, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. A match is 4 minutes long, 3.5, boom! She threw me again. I ran off the mat. I said, Mom, I know, don't even say it. And I went up to Coach. I said, Coach, I'm this close to beating her. He goes, yes, you are. And at that moment, I believed. Okay, 5 years, 17, black belt. There she is again, of course. I looked her across the mat and I saw that familiar face. And I bowed and I stepped forward and I thought, why do I have to do this again? Oh man, I don't know. I'm sick and tired of it all. And my knees are shaking, my heart is pounding, and I bowed and I stepped forward and I think I shut my eyes. And the referee says, Hajime, 3, 2, 1, boom! Ooh. She's laying flat on the mat. I'm like, oh my. And everybody cheering and celebrating and jumping up and down until I looked back and saw her. And her head was down. She was walking off the mat. And her coach comes up to her. You are terrible. You are awful. How could you possibly lose to her? You've never lost to her in your entire life. At the time, she was one of the best players in the country, and I never faced her on the mat again. 10 years after that match, they made the announcement we have been waiting for. Women's judo would debut in the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul, South Korea. And I was in my prime. All that hard work, dedication, and as my coach would categorize it, stick-to-itiveness, paid off. I entered the Olympic Games ranked number 2 in the world. And I was facing my then nemesis, Diane Bell of Great Britain, who had beat me in the final seconds of the final match at the World Championships the year before. I stepped up to that mat, and I heard that familiar voice and that familiar sound, which, by the way, almost got confiscated by TSA. Somehow, Mom convinced them that it was a necessity to carry the cowbell, and they let it go. I looked down, and I knew that I was this close to being there. And with one step, I would arrive. I stepped They began the match, and Diane and I fought really well that day. Attacking, counterattacking, and with 17 seconds left, no score, I came in for a throw and she hit the ground. And the referee gives it a score. The other referee in the corner didn't see it, so they waved it off. And the match ends in a scoreless tie. But it was my time. You stand back and you wait for the judges and referee's decision. And I saw one flag go up. Rothke, USA. I couldn't see the one behind me. And the referee awards the match and the gold medal to Diane Bell of Great Britain. And as the sportscaster said, and Rothke has to settle for the silver. You know, no Olympian goes to the Olympics dreaming of a silver medal. I know it sounds funny, but have you ever really watched Olympic medal ceremonies? You know, the gold medalist is on top of the world. They just won. The bronze medalist just won a medal. Anything less than the dream of a medal would remain a dream. But the Olympic silver medalist just lost the gold. I can't even tell you how many times I said, how did you lose the gold? Who won the gold? Well, Cornell University did a study, and they had an audience watch Olympic medal ceremonies and rate the emotions of the medalists, 1 to 10. 10 being ecstasy and 1 being agony. Gold medalists came in at 10. Bronze came in at 7.3. And the silver medalists came in at 4.8, which really is pretty sad for what should be one of the best days of your life. Now, I was lucky because I made the team again in 1992, and I got to see other athletes' greatness firsthand. And one of them is named Derek Redmond of Great Britain. He ran the 400 meters, which is one time around the track, usually done in about 44 seconds. He was clocked at the time as the fastest man in the world. But every time he'd get to a major event, something would happen. He would get hurt, he would get sick. So we were all really rooting for him. And the runners were at the starting line. Derek was at the starting line. The gun sounds and the runners take off. They come around the final curve and Derek is clearly in the lead and he hits the ground. And all the rest of the runners passed him and finished the race in record time. We looked back, and Derek was dragging his leg, trying to get to the finish line, and he'd fall to the ground. He had ripped the hamstring completely off the ball. By now, security was coming onto the track, trying to lift him up and get him off, because they're on a time schedule. We have other events to run. And Derek was fighting, leave me alone. Then suddenly a man jumped from the stands, eluded security over the barrier, and he knelt down next to Derek and said, Derek, you do not have to do this. And Derek looked up at the man and said, Dad, yes, I do. My country did not send me here to start this race. It sent me here to finish it. And then Derek's dad says, then son, we're going to do this together. He knelt down and wrapped his encouraging arms around Derek, picked him up, and the two men finished together in the record time of 22 minutes. And at that moment, I thought, I am looking at two true champions. Two true champions. I didn't medal in 92, but every athlete, American athlete, got something. This jacket. On the back, it has the Olympic rings subtly embroidered in black. Inside, your event, your name, any medal you may have taken, and a motto. And this motto says, the most important things in the Olympic Games is not to win, but to take part. Just as most important thing in life is not the triumph, but the struggle. We all have struggles. We all have struggles. Dare to encourage someone every day as a coach, as a parent, as a teacher, as a friend, as a coworker, because our words do have meaning and influence. Thank goodness, even if those discouraging words were spoken, when I was thrown to my back time and time again, they were drowned out by the sound of a cowbell, by the encouragement of my coach, by the quiet force of support of my dad. And when Mom said, sometimes you have to lose to win, what she meant is sometimes you have to lose to learn. Learn to improve your skills. Learn to make different mistakes. Learn to become a better person. And what I have learned is that a champion is not measured by the medals won, but a champion is measured by all the gifts of encouragement along the way. Consider your words as a gift, and once spoken cannot be taken back. I challenge you to not only be encouraged, but to be an encourager. So what I'm going to leave you with is, Hajime! Thank you.